MG Rob back with you again, and today I thought it'd be fun to see if we can maybe get that 62 Midget parts car running. Alright, so here's the 62 Midget. I acquired this car probably 21 years ago now. So I originally got this car as part of a 3-car package deal that I made when I was working many years ago at a fabrication shop 5 or 6 miles away from here. And I saw an NSU Sport Prince sitting in a driveway of an older house with a crappy garage. And I thought, man, this looks pretty interesting. And I stopped in, talked to the guy, and he said he would sell it to me on one condition. I had to buy all 3 of the cars he had sitting there, which included this, which I didn't mind because I'm in the MGs, and an old Myers Manx style fiberglass dune buggy. So we struck a deal for like $500. So I bought all 3 of them, drug them all home, and once I got them home, I looked everything over, decided I would go ahead and just throw the NSU and the dune buggy up on eBay. And ended up selling those for roughly $300 a piece. So the way I saw it is I ended up with a midget parts car, which I didn't have any midget parts cars around, and $100 in my pocket for my troubles. So now I really wanted to do something with this car and not just let it sit and rot away, but like so many other cars that I've run into over the years, it's really common to see that somebody will take one of these things and they'll just sign the back of the title, give it to the next owner. The next owner never goes and actually transfers it into their name, and it gets passed through several hands before somebody actually tries to do something with it. And the state of Ohio is one of those more difficult states to actually sort the title out when it's a really old title like that. And then there were some other interesting circumstances around the particular title on this car. And to try to go through the proper process to do it the completely 100% legal way of getting the title into my name turned out to be a little bit much at the time for me for an old parts car. And I never completed that process and never got the title into my name. Because to do it 100% legally, I ran into roadblocks that prevented it from happening. So it ended up just being a parts car. Alright, so I don't actually know very much at all about this car. I know that there's an SCCA decal on this door over here, and that the carbs that I believe came with this had been modified. So maybe someone had been racing this at some point in time, but it doesn't show any evidence of roll cage or anything, so it probably would have just been autocrossing if they did. Other than knowing that it is chassis number 1558, which is a very early chassis number. I believe the chassis started at 1200 on these, which makes it the 358th car off the line. Putting it somewhere around October of 61 build date. And it was originally Old English white, and now it's red. Now I have parted parts of this car out over the years. I did steal the pedal box out of it and use parts of that to fix another car. I sold the generator off of it for a Bug-Eye Sprite, and then the bumpers are now on Captain Oblivious's 76 MG Midget. Now for the whole time that I've owned it, the carburetors have not been on it, which does not bode well for the engine. It could very well have gotten some water in there. Of course, there used to be rags in here. But the valves may be rusted up. Motor could be frozen by now. I don't know. But we're going to find out right now. Alright, to try to turn this over, I'm using a chain vice grip around the lower pulley. because it was really accessible to use. Oh, hey, it's not froze up. That's a good sign. All right, well, let's see if it'll turn over on the starter. So I just have it grounded here, and I'm just skipping the ignition switch here, and we'll just see if it works. All right, it does turn over. On to the next step. All right, well, next I would like to check, make sure we have some compression. I pulled the spark plugs out. Obviously, this isn't going to work because it's got three different brands of plugs, but it has some short plugs in the back too and some longer plugs in the front too. So I obviously have to put a set of plugs in it. So now I want to check, before I run a compression check, just see if we've got compression. All right, yeah. 3 looks a little weak. And almost nothing at all in 1. Darn it. Well, I'll pull the valve cover off, and we'll see if maybe I got a valve hanging open. And if I can get it to free up, then see if we can get some compression. And my jump box is a bit low right now. Somehow my light got left on and it went completely dead. And it's not quite fully charged yet. So let's watch these, see if I got one hanging open. Well, they look like they're operating all right. So I guess I'll have to put the borescope down in there and see if it's got a hole in the piston or something. Maybe that's why this thing was sitting for so many years before I even bought it. I have never tried to start this thing in the 20 years I've had it. Never even tried to turn it over, so I got this little inspection camera. I can't seem to quite get my camera position so you can actually see anything on the screen. But after looking down in here, the top of the piston looks just fine. So it must have either enough rust on the seat of the valve to just not let it even come close to sealing, or it's got a badly burnt valve. So one other way we can kind of cheat it is, now that both valves are closed, we can just tap on them and that'll pop them against the seat and give it a chance to potentially seal again if it's just rust. There we go. Now we got compression. So it's just rust on the seat. So now I can move on to trying to get spark out of that rusty distributor, or changing it for another one. All right, now the process to actually get spark is fairly straightforward overall. It can take a little time though. If you do not have one of these, the Lucas Fault Diagnosis Service Manual, I highly suggest getting one. I always refer back to this to remember all the steps and to remember the details, because I just can't seem to always commit it to memory. If you go through this book, like under the coil ignition, there's step-by-step of checks to go through. If you go through each and every check and verify things are good, or replace what you verify is bad, you absolutely will get spark. All right, well, that's as far as I'm going to take it for today. I want to let my jump box charge up the rest of the way. so that I can actually turn it over fast enough to get a reasonable compression test on it, and to be able to turn it over fast enough to actually have a chance of getting it started. But I also need to dig up a set of carburetors and make sure they're clean enough and not going to leak all over the place to actually work. So until next time, if you like what I'm doing, like, subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you know when my new videos come out. This is MG Rob. Later.